Eighth grade, your slideshow today is about solving two-step equations. Your PEMDAS chart is very important. Remember, when we solve equations, we go backwards, so we have to go from the bottom of the PEMDAS chart to the top. That means we'll look at addition and subtraction first, then we'll look at multiplication and division, then we'll talk about our exponents and our parentheses next. All right, so going in reverse is important today because we're solving an equation. We're going in reverse. We're going to really scoot because we need to make sure we get through all this. Inverse operations. Hopefully you remember this stuff. Oh, same thing to both sides. And then we get our answer of 23. Multiplication, we undo it with division. Same thing to both sides. Some of you being home so long, it made you know you had brain rot because we had so much trouble with this. All right, division. 9. All right. 9. We get 63. These are things that you should know that you had no problem with before you left, but we got to get you back here, get you off quarantine, and make sure you're doing things. All right, opposite or inverse operations, and we get 90. All right, so problem of the day. To solve two-step equations. That's what we're doing today. The two-step equations are the big ones. Remember how we've been writing everything out? Now is why you've seen this, why we've been doing this. So, we will look at problems. Sometimes more than one inverse operation is needed to solve an equation. Before solving, ask yourself, what is being done to the variable and what order? Then work backwards. PEMDAS backwards. We will worry about getting the equations first, not writing out the stuff. The mechanic's bill to repair Mr. Wong's car was $650. The mechanic charges $45 an hour. Oh, $45 times H. And the parts were $443. So labor times hour, labor cost times hour, plus 443 equals 650. So we have our problem. This is a flat cost, 45 times number of hours, and here's our total. All those things important. All right, so we make the plan and we go here. Here's that total cost of parts. Here's this hours, $45 for every hour worked. And when we add those two together, we get that. Now we got to see what's going on. We have multiplication, 45 times H, and, then we have addition going on here. Now with PEMDAS, we've got to remember, oh, what's the very last thing? Oh yeah, that's addition. So we've got to work backwards. So we'll focus on this addition first, that 443, because our goal is to get that H all by itself. But we're working in reverse, so we focus on the addition first. I'm going to subtract $443. Subtract $443. That tells me, oh, this is the parts part that I'm getting rid of. $207 was the cost for labor. Now, usually we've been done at this point, but we got to remember this comes down. 45H. All right, now they weren't very nice and they didn't make it come out even, so we will do our best to do that. So now we've got a problem that we're used to looking at. Remember we did addition first, now we did subtraction, now do addition. We're going to divide by 45, so H can be by itself. That leaves us H. And then we do 207 divided by 45. All right, and we'll get our answer. All right, let's go ahead and see what they did, because I'm not doing that math in my head this morning. All right. There it is. We did do this the first step right. Notice subtraction first, because I had to undo that addition. Then we've got to do division, and we get 4.6 hours is what they worked on. Notice they left it in a decimal. Not everything in the world comes out nice and even. All right, they're going to go back and check this. Does it make sense? Oh, yeah, it would make sense for our cost. $4 would be $623. And if it worked for 5 hours, it would be $668. We were between those two costs. Hey, that makes sense. All right. The mechanic's bill to repair your car was $850. That's what you had to pay them so you could get back on the road. Now, this mechanic charged $35 for an hour, and the parts were $275. How many hours did the mechanic work on your car? We got to set up that equation again. All right. We had the parts cost plus the dollars per hour. Ooh, 1 hour 35, 2 hours 75 or 70. It is a multiplication factor there. And then we have the total cost. All right. From there we go on. All right. So I know you couldn't see it at the bottom, so we will set it up here. All right. That's the cost for the number of hours of work. This is the cost for the parts. We add them together. Now, reverse PEMBAs. Literally, you start at the bottom. So I see addition going on here. So I want to make sure I get rid of that addition since it's the first thing we focus on when going backwards. Minus the 275. Minus the $275. All right. We do our subtraction here. 10 minus 5 is 5. 15 minus 8 is 7. And 8 minus 3 is 575. Now, normally we're done at this time. We just bring down the h and we're good. But we still have 35 times h because we haven't worked with the 35h, which we couldn't yet. So now, these are problems we're used to seeing. Oh, if I want to get h by itself, I divide by 35. If I want to get h by itself, I divide by 35. And when I do that division, oh, it's way too early in the morning to do that kind of division. I will get h equals whatever my answer is, okay? Sorry, it's too early to do that division for me. We'll let the computer do it. And the first step they do, oh, they get rid of that addition. Remember, they're working PEMDAS backwards as well. Then they have the multiplication. They do that division. 16.4 hours. You must have had something that took a lot of moving around to get to. All right. The car mechanic worked for 16.4 hours. So your labor cost, that $575, was a lot more than the parts cost this time. All right, let's look back. For 16 hours, it would have been $835. For 17 hours, it would have been $870. Our cost was between that, so 16 and some hours works. All right. Then we work backward to isolate the variable. That is our goal. All right. So let's look at this. We have n over 3 plus 7. PEMDAS backwards. If you start at the bottom of that sheet and work up, we know to work on the left side because the left side has the variable. I didn't say that the last two. Hopefully you remember it. All right. Now, since we're working from the bottom up, hey, I see adding 7. Subtract 7. Subtract 7. That gets you your 15. Then we have n over 3. I like to put it over 1 because then that helps me know they're both variables. Dividing by 3, so I multiplied by 3. I multiplied by 3. N equals 45. Now we can always plug it back in. 45, I put it right here where I just been tapping black dots. Divided by 3 is 15. 15 plus 7, that is 22. It does work out. Remember, working from the bottom to the top, not terribly hard, but will take some thinking. All right? All right. So, first thing they did, you see them, subtract 7 on both sides. Next thing they do, you see them multiply by 3 on both sides. And then they get their answer of 45. Now, Sometimes when people get fractions, it freaks them out. Ah, fractions. So we can use our distributive property stuff. So n over 3 plus 7 equals 22. If you are a fraction hater, and there's plenty of them out there, this will help you. We put a parentheses around this one. I take everything on this side times 3. I think of it as 3 over 1. Okay, when I do 3 times 3, oh, that means I just get in. 3 times 7 plus 21. And then on this side, since I did times 3 on the left side, I must do it to the right side. Times 3, I get 66. All right, now I got rid of that division. I'm ready to just focus on that subtraction. 21 minus 21. 5, 4. I do get n equals 45. They show you this alternative method because sometimes you'll really need to use the distributive property like we did on the left side to open up a parentheses, to get rid of it. Okay? We come up with the same answer. I prefer to work backwards, like PEMDAS sheet says. Do the addition, subtraction, get rid of that inverses first, then get rid of the division and multiplication, and then we go from there. All right? So we move on. So, hey, they did the same thing I said. Notice they took the 3 times this and times that. They really should have put a parentheses here, in my opinion. Then they do the division or the addition, the subtraction, and we get our answer of 45. Now, this one becomes a pain in the bottom. We must understand what it's saying. Looking at this one, we can't just rely on working backwards because it says first we have to divide by 3, then we have to subtract. It's kind of like they're saying there's a parentheses around these because you have to divide both those numbers when you subtract them by 3. So since we really know there's a parentheses around y minus 4, because that has to be done before we can divide, we got to get rid of the division first. These are the ones I expect to have questions on because it's not just work backwards. Multiply by 3 over 1. Hey, 3 on top, 3 on bottom, we can cross those out. Multiply by 3 over 1. Oh, that's 27. We didn't do anything with the inside of the parentheses, so y minus 4. Hey, that's good. Now it's a problem I really understand and it's easy. Plus 4, y equals 31. All right, we've got our answer. 31, if I put that in here for the y minus 4 is 27. 27 divided by 3 is 9. All right, let's show you what they did. All righty. So, first, of course, they did something different. Wonderful. All right, I think my way is a little bit easier, but notice they said method 1. So you can watch what they did. So they added 4/3 to both sides, but then you're just getting fractions everywhere, and that's a pain in the bottom. Then they multiplied by 3, and they got an answer, and I'll move this so you can see it, of 31, just like I did. I think the way they did it there is a pain in the bottom, so I wouldn't pay much attention. Here, all right, multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator. I think that's probably the better way to go. 3 times that, oh, then it's wonderful. Do you see how 3 on top, 3 on bottom, they cross out? Then we have 27 equals y minus 4, and we get 31. First way they did it, I thought very hard. This way, I think much easier. All right, we want to work backwards to isolate the variable. They're going to show us 2 ways. So we have n plus 4 plus 8 equals 8 14. All right. So now we're thinking, PEMDAS in reverse. Oh, I'm going to focus on the addition and subtraction first. Only in rare situations won't you? And we will take those questions. Subtract the 8. There's your 10. N divided by 4. I like to put it over 1 to keep myself straight. All right, 1 over 1. Oh, took it times 4 to get rid of that 4. Take it times 4. N equals 40. PEMDAS in reverse. We do inverse of the addition first, then we do inverse of the division second, and we get our answer of 40. 40, if you look where I put my green dot now, 40 divided by 4 is 10 plus 8, that is 18. All right. They're going to show their way of doing it, and it should be the same way as mine. All right. They're going to subtract 8 from both sides. We did that. They're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. We did that, and we get 40 as our answer. Now, this one is where they multiply the denominator by both sides. I only usually do this if I've got that whole fraction, or the y minus 4, with the whole fraction bar under both of them. But they like to do it now. This is using the distributive property. And usually we do pretty well with this, but I have extra questions on it. We will definitely focus on it when we go over the review. Think of it like there's a parentheses here. So I multiply times 4 over 1. Hey, when I do this, I get in. 4 times 8, that's plus 32. All right, if I multiply one side by something, I got to multiply the other side by something. That's 72. Okay. Minus 32. Minus 32, because now the n plus something, that's a problem we understand, or hopefully see. All right. N equals 40. Like I said, it's time to get your butts back here so we can have interaction, we can have talking, we can have all that. I know you don't want to stay out. I don't want you to be out because we do better together. All right, they show the same thing. They show the subtraction, and we've got the answer. I want you back here, so hopefully you're doing everything you need to. Y minus 7 over 2 equals 7. Now, ladies and gentlemen, y minus 7 over 2 equals 7. Okay, I like to put it over 1 on this side because then we're all dealing with fractions. This is one where it says we got to do the y minus 7, then divide. Because notice how that fraction bar is under both of them. That's showing you, hey, you have to do what's above here first, then you divide. So, to get rid of that 2, we can use the inverse operation, times 2. If I do times 2 on one side, I must do times 2 on the other side. Those cross off then. Y minus 7 equals 14. Let's do our addition. 21 is what y equals. So right here, we look where I put the blue dot. 21 minus 7 is 14. 14 divided by 2, that is 7. We get our 21 for our answer. These multiple steps, I expect questions. Hopefully some of you have got your head back on straight and are going to get back in and get all your homework done. I praised you early on, and when I graded science, I started to get upset. All right? So this is the confusing way where they turn everything into a fraction. You get the same answer, but I don't think it's worth the paper it's written on. Here we do what I did, talk about multiplying by 2 first, then we do our inverse operation of plus 7. Well, why do we multiply first? Because it's almost like there's parentheses around this because of this entire fraction bar right here. That fraction bar, when it's together all in one under something, shows we have to do that before we can divide. That is the big kicker. You're going to need to try this on your own, but I do expect questions.